gonna try to segue all those things into that regarding
in
that.
school. They knew what fraternities you were in.
Definitely wasn't an easy decision. I sat down with my dad.
Not to say I hope I make it, but to know I'll make it.
Welcome to another episode of I Am the Change podcast, brought to you by DTR Incorporated, a nonprofit organization geared toward uplifting, inspiring, and empowering communities all over the world. I'm your host, Michael Davis, alongside the lovely Miss Sharice Lovett, Mr. Jason Redman.
All right. So, good evening, everybody. I didn't want to go ahead and butcher up the intro. I'm going to let Michael get that taken care of. Yeah, I was going to kill it. So, Sharice, funny story. I got a phone call, friend of mine, and it was like, man, Jason, you got to meet this dynamic guy. He's running for Senate. In District 3?
It's actually the House of Representatives, District 4.
House of Representatives, the Feds. The Feds.
Yes, North Carolina, yes.
Yeah, North Carolina House of Representative District 4. And I was like, all right, whatever, put him in contact with me. I'm not the political guy, but we'll see what we can do. Called him on the phone. Well, actually, he called me on the phone and said, Jason. I'm like, oh my God, this is another spam caller. Who is this? And he's dynamic dude, man. And so I want you to introduce you, Stephen Valentine. You're soon to be House of Representative District 4 from North Carolina. So this is the guy. So Stephen, I know we talked offline. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into politics, where you're from, the whole nine.
Well, I'm actually from New Jersey originally. I was born out in Mount Holly, New Jersey. And later, my parents moved us out to a place called Pottstown, Pennsylvania. It's outside of Philadelphia. And actually, the municipality, is about 5 miles in each direction. And,
That's a big town.
Yes. And oddly enough, that small time feel is actually how I feel living here in Durham. Even though Durham is much bigger than that, it has sort of that small town feel, which is why my wife and I decided to make Durham our home when we left the military. Now, you talked about how I got into politics. I want to say that I'm new to politics, but I'm not new to service at all. And so I was looking for ways to serve, and then in January of 2021, the world changed again, and I said, I have to get in this fight. Our democracy is in peril, and I think that I can play a part in ensuring that it's preserved. And a little bit about my background. I graduated from Morehouse College. I have a master's degree from the University of Pennsylvania, and I did my legal studies here at North Carolina Central School of Law.
So you're a legal eagle.
I am a legal
eagle.
Yes.
Yeah, I stole your word, Sharice.
You did. You just learned that. No, I'm just
I did today. Yeah. So you the world changed. You wanted to jump into the fight. Like, what was so like for me, I've always been like, I'm always big for the culture. Like, I think that the way you change is being on the inside, not on the outside, talking about it. Like, what was your moment that made you want to jump in the fight?
So like I had mentioned, when I saw people who were calling themselves patriots storming the Capitol, I thought to myself, the definition of what it means to be a patriot has been turned completely upside down. And in addition to that, the fight around the country with regards to the right to vote. And so without the right to vote, quite frankly, we have no democracy. And so I think that was a pivotal moment. And I've been a part of several pivotal moments. I can remember being on active duty when 9/11 occurred and how the world changed overnight. And so in moments like that, in the history of our country, people always respond. And so I find myself answering the call again. And so if the people call on me or find it that they want to have me as their elected representative, I am ready to serve.
So, because you just said you do not have the political background.
Yes.
But the background of service. So what I have seen, I have
personally seen people who have gone from that acts of service to the political arena. Do you think this shift where people are saying, well, the politics background is not necessarily important, but if I am a true boots to the ground with a heart to serve, that will make a big difference?
I think that it will, and I think the time is right.
Mm-hmm.
I think time's absolutely right. I don't know if you've been following this race, but the seat is currently occupied by David Price, and David Price announced that he would not be running for re-election, and so this is his last term. It's an open seat, and so there's actually 7 candidates who are vying for this position. And quite frankly, there are some people who have some political experience that are in this race. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, all my colleagues on the Democratic side of the aisle are a very talented bunch. But I think that my candidacy is very distinguishable. I'm not in a position to be raising a lot of money. I have all grassroots fundraising from individuals. And so you don't have to take my word.
Donations coming too. Just FYI, my donation's coming.
I appreciate that.
No problem. It's coming. Yeah.
All right. So all my donations come from individual contributors, and you can actually look that up on the FEC's website. And so there's some people in this race who are saying, "Oh, I'm taking grassroots money," but that report will tell you a different story. But more to my point, I'm the only candidate in this race who served in the military. I have 2 combat tours, and so I'm the only veteran in this race. I'm the only person or candidate that has international policy experience. I worked at the U.S. State Department as a foreign affairs officer during the first presidency of Barack Obama. Also, I am the only candidate in this race who actually has occupied space in the Congress. I worked as a staffer for the late Congressman Donald Payne. Mm-hmm. And I'm also the only candidate who's actually worked with people on the ground level. In a prior life, I served as a social worker and a social work educator. And so I have solved problems with individuals, families, and communities. And so I know from the grassroots, literally, what the problems are. And I've worked extensively with people. And I've also am the only candidate in this race who has a legal background. I've served as a prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia. And I know how effective that one can be with regards to a positive community response to crime. And so the answer is not always to put someone in jail, but there are definitely suitable alternatives to making sure that our communities stay safe. And so I think those are the sort of things that distinguishes me from the people in this race. And I may have more political experience than me, and I won't go into what my real thoughts are about that. Actually, I will go into that. So I'm a firm believer.
There you go. This is why you get my vote right here. Not because you came on the podcast, but
yeah. Keep it real. Keep it real.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that long tenures in the United States House of Representatives and the Congress have done a disservice to our nation. Quite frankly, I think incumbency has led to a situation where we can't move forward in our country because the same leaders continue to make the same decisions. And our time is now, and we're ready to change. And I'm committing to the people who vote for me that I'm not going to be in Congress for the rest of my life. I'm going to serve my season. And so I was asked on maybe 3 or 4 days ago what I thought that season looked like. And I think that season looks like 6 to 10 years for anyone who would want to serve in this capacity. After 10 years, and I don't, quite frankly, don't think that I'll be in the House of Representatives for 10 years. Only because as I look on the horizon backwards, I like what I see. Our young people are ready to lead. They're ready to lead. And I'm willing to get in there and mentor some young people so that I can hand over the mantle, because the next generation is ready to lead. And quite frankly, there's been generations ahead of me that have been denied the opportunity to lead because of incumbency.
Gotcha. So you talked about you getting your money from grassroots, from individuals.
Yes.
So for me, I think that's important, because as a young, I call myself young, as a young African-American male, I followed politics I wasn't really deep into them, like following the debates and all that kind of stuff. But I think that when you start understanding, for me, when I started to understand how politicians politic, and this is my opinion, if I'm wrong, correct me. I think that when you get money for your campaign, you have to listen to your contributors. And when you listen to your contributors, to me, that kind of shifts your ideologies on what you're going to make laws about, what you're going to make bills about, what your focus is. And so to me, if you're taking money from big business, that's what you care about, is big business. So I think back to when this previous president we had, 45, was in office, and he changed the tax bills, the tax brackets for big businesses from, I think, 35% to 20%. And they were like, oh yeah, you're going to have it to where that extra 15% is going to be money that you can pour back into your business. And I'm like, there's no way in the world that somebody's going to get a 15% raise and give it to their employees. Right. They can put that money in their pocket, or they can put their money offshore in their offshore account, and just pad their retirement. So let me ask, so you said you're getting money from grassroots. So what is, one, why are you getting money from grassroots? And two, is that what your focus is going to be? You're focusing on the grassroots organizations as individuals down on the ground?
Yes. And so, I mean, my idea of politics is about relationships. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm reaching out to people, I'm trying to make a human connection. Right. Because it's not only my experiences that I'm going to take to Washington, D.C. when I make decisions, it's also going to be the experiences of my constituents that I take with me. And so that's very important to me. And so that's where the source of my monies for this campaign is coming from. And so there's other people in this race. I'm not going to say that they're taking money from corporations, but they are tapped into the political machine. Mm-hmm. I don't have a family name in politics.
Not yet.
I'm not connected to the political apparatus as such. Some people in this campaign have reached out to big name politicians in Washington, D.C. for support. And I probably could do that, but that's not about serving the people in this district. Mm-hmm. And so the only people that I'm reaching out to is people like Jason Redmond and Sharice Lovett. And saying, hey, I want to get in this race and prioritize the needs of people because they've been neglected for a long time.
Okay. So with you prioritizing, so if somebody was to say Stephen Valentine his platform is what?
So Stephen Valentine's platform is actually prioritizing people. And what I mean by that is I think that we should be building a resilient economy, and all the issues that I'm going to be running on help to support building a resilient economy. Like, I find it distressing that we're in such a terrible situation right now as a result of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And so if history is any indication, we should have been on notice regarding a forthcoming pandemic. It's been historically 100 years. Over the last several hundred years, a pandemic has hit the world at least once in 100 years. And so we should be preparing for that. We should be preparing for national disasters. And so when I talk about having jobs at a living wage, that's also adding to building a resilient economy. Also having a right to a job. And so I know that seems kind of weird in the economic system that we have, but that's not a new or novel concept. We've been struggling with people having a right to a job in our country since the 1970s with regards to legislation. Now, Mr. Redmond had talked about taxes. I agree 100%. And so our tax structure can help to support a resilient economy. And so if we stop putting the burden of taxes on working people in the middle class and redistribute taxes in a way that is fair, so that people who make a little bit more money and corporations pay their fair share, then I believe that we'll be in a better economic situation in our country. And also, if we get rid of some of the loopholes and exemptions that make up the tax code, I mean, that it's a treatise in the tax code in and of itself, just dealing with loopholes for corporations and exemptions. And so if we did away with some of those So things that prevent people from paying taxes, that I think that number one, we'd have more money in our national treasury, i.e. we would be building a resilient economy. Now, the third thing is that I am a firm believer in unions. And so we live in a state where they say we have a right to work. I'm sure you've heard that before. They say North Carolina is a right to work state, but really what that means is that you have no rights at all here in North Carolina. And so I believe that workers should be able to come together collectively to bargain for higher wages, better working conditions, and quite frankly, unions supported or propped up the middle class in our nation. And so I think that there should be a broad sort of based movement towards unions, particularly in the state of North Carolina. Now, education is another way for us to build our resilient economy. And so I'm supporting things like universal preschool. I mean, I can remember being a young parent myself and having 3 children, and their expenses prior to them going off to school was more expensive than my mortgage. I mean, that's just an untenable situation, particularly as everything in society continues to rise. And so I think universal preschool would be something that'd be helpful for students. Also, I think that making an investment in our young people with regards to free community college, I think that's a great idea. It will do something about the student loan debt that seems to be burdening so many of our citizens here in North Carolina. I mean, we have to do something about it.
Right.
And so another thing that I'd like to do with regards to higher education is that I want to incentivize both state schools here in North Carolina and private schools to use more of their institutional funds to defray some of the costs associated with higher education. I just find it alarming that our institutions aren't in a position to be able to provide more help and assistance to their students. And so that's one of the pillars that I'm looking for. Also,
can I cut you off for a second?
Yeah, certainly.
Is that for their undergrad or all levels of degrees to assist, like the state schools and private schools, to assist with cost of schooling for their students?
Okay, great question. So yes, it's all 4 years of higher education. And so to the extent that you don't take advantage of the 2-year community college option, which I think is a wonderful idea,
right?
And you go straight to a 4-year institution, I believe that there should be more institutional funds that are available to provide more scholarships and grants to students, and so that they don't have to bear so much of the student loan debt upon their matriculation at the state or private institution here in North Carolina.
Gotcha.
Okay. So you talked about I was taking notes while you were talking.
Okay.
So you talked about funding for institutions. So I'm a big HBCU guy. And you went to Morehouse College, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. It's making that connection. So you talked about funding. So my thing is, I look at how, I looked at this, it was an article that was written, Tennessee State in Nashville, Tennessee is getting millions and millions of dollars because of unfair funding that went on for years back in I want to say 70s to 80s. I might have the decade wrong. So how do we take money how do we reallocate money for schools like a North Carolina Central, North Carolina A&T, or a Johnson C. Smith, or Elizabeth City State, or Winston-Salem State here in North Carolina, and reallocate money to those schools who need resources, who need those monetary resources, and help those schools rebuild their infrastructure, get quality professors in those schools, and attract good students to those schools also. Like, to me, I didn't learn about merit money when I came out of high school. I didn't learn about that until my son went to college.
Right.
Shout out to Jalen Redmond and Daisha Redmond. But to me, like, I didn't learn about that until they came out of school. Yeah. And so for me, having a degree and going to college, and I'm like, I was clueless. So how do we bridge that gap for parents and these HBCUs that need these funding? Because to me, like, if an HBCU closes, like a Morris Brown or Knoxville College closing, it it eradicates certain students from going to college, because for me, without Knoxville College, I wouldn't have been able to prosper, because I wouldn't have been able to function in a large institution like a North Carolina Central. I wouldn't be able to function because it's too many.
It's too
people.
big.
Yeah, it's too big. For me, I needed under 1,000 students because I need to be able to go to the professor and talk, or just know what's going on campus.
Well, let me just say that, we sort of talked about this before we went live. Actually walked the grounds of Knoxville College, and so very fine institution that you went to. But I think the larger issue is, and currently there is a movement to redistribute some of the funding for historically Black colleges and universities. Even the private sector is taking a look at how they can make investments in historically Black colleges and universities. And so when you ask the question about how can we make sure that those schools are funded, I would say that we need to take a look at those structures and systems that have caused the situation to put historically Black colleges and universities in the positions where they are. And so me and Ms. Lovett share the love of the Eagle Pride at North Carolina Central University, but in the state system, North Carolina Central University, as well as the other historically Black colleges and universities, are not funded at the same level of these of the other universities that are in the system. You have to ask yourself why. Mm-hmm. And it's not hard to come to the conclusion as to why that is. But like I said, it's something that's changing, mm-hmm. or they're at least making an attempt to redress some of the inequities of the past. And so I'm for that. And I think the current administration is also making it one of their budgetary line items to effectively infuse historically Black colleges and universities with federal funding.
Cool.
That's good.
Cool. That's good. I have another question, Sharice, if you don't.
Jason, take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So North Carolina, when it comes to paying teachers, is one of the lowest states in the union. So how do we go about redistributing? I don't want to say redistributing wealth, but how do we go about incentivizing students to go into education? If I'm not mistaken, I remember hearing once that there were some programs for firefighters and police officers to for them to help them buy houses, help them become homeowners. How do we have those same programs for maybe like teachers? How do we give them? I know they have incentives for like their auto and their homeowners insurance, but when some of the elementaries, I worked at the elementary school for some years, and everybody that I knew had a second job. They either worked a part-time job at the school, or they went to a part-time job after they left the school. And in my mind, working part-time is 5 to 9, and you're not getting home after 9 o'clock. You still got
working weekends.
And working weekends, you got a lesson plan, and we're assuming you don't have any children. So now we're taking away time from the family. Mm-hmm. So how do we go about increasing teacher pay and giving incentives for those teachers that are working at Title I schools or low performing schools?
So,
and I'm hitting you with a lot, I know, man.
Jason, this is absolutely a great question. And some of the people who are vying for the 4th congressional seat probably would answer this a little differently. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is that the federal government plays a very small and limited part with respect to education. 80% of the funding for state and local governments towards education is 80%. 80%, and 20% comes from the federal government. Mm-hmm. So the education is nowhere found in the Constitution of the United States. There's no provision for education at all. So to the extent that the federal government plays a role, it plays a role in 3 areas: food programs, school safety, and food programs. That is the federal government's contribution to education. And so when
they're gonna feed you and they're gonna keep you safe.
Right.
So what's the third one? You said food programs, safety.
Food programs, safety, and special education.
Special education, okay.
Yes, and special education. And so a lot of people will will say that, oh no, Valentine, you don't know what you're talking about. And I challenge them to go and look at the budget. The budget. It's under. I'm being gracious saying 20%. It's probably a little less than 20% that actually the federal government provides to the schools in North Carolina.
So at the end of the day, it's up to the state to make it.
It is a state function, but Mr. Jason Redmond, he actually raised some good ideas, and so the federal government can incentivize through higher education to promote teacher programs to make sure that we have quality teachers in the schools, and also to make sure that we're increasing the numbers of African Americans and other minorities who are actually in education. And the federal government can also, and matter of fact, I think they're starting to do this or trying to look into doing this more and more to provide incentives to the states for teachers around performance. And so that's a way that you can infuse some money into the system to support teachers.
Gotcha.
But the federal government, again, has a very limited role in the educational system. It's like you have no constitutional right to an education. Now, in the state constitution of North Carolina, you have a right to an education, but you also have a right to work here too. So I'll let you figure that out.
yeah. It sound like them rights the same rights. Don't sound like we got no rights at all.
Right. That's right.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead. I don't want to hog it because
you're good because I'll just get your follow-up questions. So go ahead.
So when I got into insurance real early. When I took a class, the guy was explaining to us some things about insurance, and I was like, "Man, that doesn't sound like that's a legal racket." He's like, "Well, it sounds like you don't want to be in insurance." And I was like, "No, I'm here for the job." He's like, but the way you're sounding doesn't really sound like you want to be in insurance. The way you're sounding, it sounds like you want to come in, turn everything upside down, and I'm out. Am I hearing that correctly? Or not so much turn it upside down, but turn it the right way.
So yes, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we don't have time to waste.
I agree.
We don't have time to waste. I mean, we have major environmental problems that are going on in our world. Mm-hmm. And I mean, people are just not pushing the levers hard enough. And the reason why they're not pushing the levers hard enough is because they're concerned about whether they're going to be reelected or not. I'm already telling you as a constituent, when I go in,
you're not trying to stay
long. I ain't trying to stay there forever.
I got you. You said 10 years and you're gone.
And he doesn't even think it's going to be 10 years. Yeah, he's
10 years. Less than 10 years. I'm 52 years old.
Right. So you
got 52 years old. Yeah. There's no way in the world that I see myself staying in Congress till I'm 83. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So ultimately it is going in, opening these doors, getting these opportunities for the young people to come and follow behind you.
Absolutely.
So you're going to kick the door in and dip.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, I mean, go make a statement.
The time for change is now.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to push those levers when you have opportunities. And we have one right now. And I think I can really change the trajectory of the 4th Congressional District and move this district forward.
So when you're talking about years of the number of terms served and everything, do you think it should be a cap on it like it is for a presidency?
So that's a very good question. The Supreme Court has actually already decided on this matter, and they said that term limits were unconstitutional. But quite frankly, I think we should, as a nation, demand from our legislative branch that they legislate in this area. It just doesn't make sense.
I mean, because I look at it even because I work for local government, and the one thing, even when moving down to Florida, it was, you'll see people who always sat in certain positions, like, this is what we've always done, this is what we've always done, we don't like change. And I'm just like, but it doesn't work for, the people coming, and I'm younger than both of y'all, so it doesn't work for us and the people coming behind me. And it's just like, change has to happen. So, no, I get it.
I mean, I'm 100% for the change, and the time for it is now. Yes.
So how many districts make up North Carolina?
So districts. So that just changed. I think it's 14 now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 14. Yeah, it just changed. And as a matter of fact, here in the 4th Congressional District, we didn't know what the lines were going to look like until about four weeks ago.
Okay.
And so the 4th Congressional District looks a lot different today than it did when Congressman Price ran for re-election 2 years ago.
So what's the makeup of the 4th district? Just so
I
people
was
can
going to
know.
ask, and that the lines,
Oh,
is it going to sway?
They
the-
changed.
Go ahead.
No.
No.
What was your
No.
question?
So answer Jason's question first, and then I'll come back with mine.
Okay. So in answer to your question, Jason, is that the 4th Congressional District is made up of Alamance County, Orange County, Person County, Durham County, Granville, and 1 precinct in Coswell County.
In Coswell County?
Yes, 1 precinct in Coswell County. Yes.
Wow. So
what's that, like Haw River area?
I don't know.
No, actually up close toward the Virginia line in Coswell County.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's out there, I think.
Like Roxborough, past that and all that?
Yeah,
Roxborough.
past Roxborough. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it's to Coswell County is actually to the west of Person County.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It's up in the northwest.
Yes, I know exactly. Yes.
Of Person County into Coswell County. Yes.
Okay.
So here's what's funny. This ain't gonna be real funny. It's not a ha funny joke, but these counties that you're in are, except for Durham, if I'm not mistaken, are historically white counties. Caucasian counties. Yeah, these are historically Caucasian counties, except for Durham.
So yes, but it's still favorable to Democrats with regards to the raw numbers.
Right. The only one that was
but it's slightly less favorable than it has been in the past. And so when people mention that it's fair,
no.
Yeah.
No.
So that leads to my question.
Yes.
So with the lines being redrawn, are lines redrawn for a purpose of kind of encompassing this type of voter and moving this type of voter out to another district?
Well, when you go through redistricting, and you hear lots discussed about gerrymandering. The fact of the matter is the party that's in power at the time that the census is taken and they redraw the lines, they determine how the lines are going to look. And here in North Carolina, many of the lines were challenged in court. And so there's been a lot of litigation around what these lines look like. And so the court actually stepped in and determined what these lines would look like, and based on fundamental fairness with regards to the population size and the demographics. And so they say this is as fair as they could have imagined with regards to a district.
I got to disagree, because I think Alamance County was a red county. I think Person County was a red county. And I think Granville was a red county. Now, of course, with what's that thing called? With what's this thing called? What is this thing called in the inner city? Urban.
Gentrification.
Say it again.
Gentrification.
Regentrification. Yeah, it's gonna make these counties different colors.
Well, I think that with regards to large numbers of constituents with respect to the Democratic Party between Orange County and Durham County, that makes up the largest block or voting block in this electorate. So, but you are right. Those other counties have historically been red counties. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when they. Only reason I knew this is because when we had the presidential election, when they went North Carolina, they went county by county, and those were red counties. Now with regentrification, a lot of people are moving out to the counties. So you have a lot of people moving out to Alamance County, Orange County, people moving to Person County from Durham and Granville County. So that you will have more folks in the from Durham County moving out into the surrounding areas
More
because
rural areas, yeah.
yeah, because housing prices are so unaffordable. But
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. I was just talking to my wife, and I was saying, you know, if we were in the market for buying a house today, there's no way we could afford the house that we live in. It just would be
man, no,
untenable. Yeah.
yeah, because I was talking about selling my house and then buying another one. I was like, I don't want a $500,000 house. I just want something nice.
Right.
They were like, oh no, that's where it starts at. I'm like, not for me, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm not even a homeowner. I rent, and the rent is ridiculous.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you talk about a livable wage, how can you? So I guess that's why that be on the platform, because without a livable wage, how can somebody start their dream to be a homeowner?
That's right. That's right. It's virtually impossible.
Possible, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with the just let's take the example of a young person leaving college, and you know, they're burdened with all the student loan debt. They're virtually, you know, locked in for many years without even the prospects of the possibilities of a down payment.
Yeah.
On the one hand, right, or being able to save any money because of, you know, the cost of living across the board. So it's a very difficult situation that we find ourselves in.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I'm me personally, I think that you've said some things that are great. I would love to see, I do a follow-up once you get elected, have you back on, and so, you know, maybe like a year into your term, and find out the things that you put in place. Because my biggest thing is, I think that I hate to say politicians make promises that they don't keep, but from what I've seen, a lot have made promises that just haven't come to fruition.
Well, the reality is, Jason, is that you're only one member.
Mm-hmm.
You're only one member, and you're only as strong as the party in power. And so historically at midterm elections, the party in power usually lose seats in Congress.
Right.
I was interviewing with a gentleman from I think it was the Herald the other day, and he mentioned that, you know, he mentioned to me, well, what are you going to do when Democrats are in the minority? I said, well, that's funny. You should ask me that. I actually was in the Congress at the last time the power shifted from Democrats to Republicans. And so I know what that's like firsthand. Mm-hmm. And I worked with a member who was able to still work on many of the same issues that he was already working on when he was in the majority because of the relationships that he built. And so while I'm certainly going to disagree with people on the other side of the aisle, I'm not going to be disagreeable, but I'm a principled person, and I am going to try to get things done. And so these are the things that I'm running on. These are the things that I'm going to push and support, not only because, but I believe in them. The people who I'm talking to around the district are agreeing with me on issues like healthcare, Social Security. I mean, I'll just be honest, my political consultants don't like me talking about Social Security. I want to talk about it. Social Security is on life support.
I agree.
And we have to do something about it in order to preserve it for future generations of North Carolina. I mean, can you imagine an America without Social Security? And how many?
It's about to be a reality in a minute.
Yeah. Well, I hope not. I actually have a vested interest in forwarding that program and preserving it. I have older parents; they're in their 80s. I can't imagine what their life would be like without Social Security. I mean,
yeah. My mother turns 80 this year. I think my dad is what, 77? Mm-hmm. Man, yeah. Hey, and it's fun, and it's sad because the fact that those, like our parents in that age bracket are the ones that were pushing to go to college, get a good job, you know, work there 40 years and retire. Yeah. But everything shifted in the middle of their working years from a pension to a 401k program, and which they knew nothing. A lot of them knew nothing about.
Right. And even with Social Security, there's been many attempts to try to privatize Social Security. Mm-hmm. And the moment that they do that, it will be the end of the program as we know it, in terms of it being a safety net for older Americans. And so
so when you privatize Social Security, does that mean, like, say you have $100,000 in Social Security money, they just give you that and say, hey, you go invest it yourself?
So no, they'll ask you to invest your money in Social Security, just like you do the 401k. And we know that with most 401k plans are propped up by they're propped up by the market, and so they're bought and sold. And so a lot of the retirement pension systems are at the whim of the market. Yeah. So if the market shifts in a certain way, then there goes your retirement. I just can't imagine Social Security being effective under those same sort of circumstances.
Yeah, that's scary to think about.
Yes.
Yeah. But I remember when 9/11 when 9/11 happened, the market tanked, and and I knew folks. I started in insurance industry at that time, and there was a guy. He was getting ready. He was counting down to retirement. But once 9/11 hit, he's like, "I've been working for another year."
Yeah,
he couldn't afford to retire.
And so that's why I'm saying that we need to build a resilient economy so that we'll be able to still be able to function during times when there's a calamity that might occur, whether it's an international or domestic sort of calamity that occurs, that it doesn't tank us to the point where we have to institute measures like we've had to over the past 2, almost 3 years.
Gotcha. So tell me when we can go vote, because I got to go vote.
Oh man, this is great. So early voting actually starts April 28th. And so we're less than 2 weeks from the first ballots being cast in this election.
Gotcha.
And May 17th is actual election day.
Okay.
But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people across the district who's going to be voting early in this election. But I'm going to be fighting till May 17th for every vote that I can get.
Okay.
And do you go out into those, I don't want to call them non-favorable counties, but into
call them what they are.
Yeah. Those non-favorable counties, into those areas to have your voice heard, and so people can put a face with a name? And
so each county has a convention every year. So I've been to all the conventions in the separate counties, and I've done some canvassing. But you can imagine it's difficult because, like I said, the lines were drawn about 4 weeks ago. So everyone's been sort of scurrying to sort of get their message out and their name out. And right now, some of the people who have the advantage of having fundraised for a year,
right,
knowing probably what this district could potentially look like, and then other people have left their jobs to run. I'm the only person in this race, I believe, who's still working full time and also campaigning. And so that's a challenge. But I mean, I have a family to take care of. And I mean, we all have choices, and that's the choice that I make. But in the evenings, I'm getting out and canvassing, and on the weekends, I spent my whole weekend canvassing, and I'll be canvassing all across the district this week. And so I think that all of us in the race are sort of disadvantaged with regards to really getting out there as much as we would like, because we had no idea what it was going to look like until 4 weeks ago. So,
gotcha.
But Jason, I pulled up the district map for the state, and you should see this little piece of Caswell County. It's real little. It was like by the way.
Yeah.
So
I can only imagine why it was carved out that way.
Yeah, it was definitely by the way. So so you mentioned the fact that you're still working a full time and getting out. As with your family and your wife, what is the support system looking like with, because you're having to invest yourself, in this race?
Yes. So my wife is on board 100%. She's been very, very supportive. I'm fortunate that one of my oldest son is actually out of the house living on his own. My middle child is away at Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania. And my junior in high school is actually upstairs, probably listening to me.
Oh.
But everyone has been super supportive with respect to my time and being understanding in that regard.
Okay.
So, but it is a challenge, yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's a big family commitment. Did they all go with you?
So no.
Okay.
So you mean if I'm elected? Is that the question?
No. The whole. I know that.
Oh, I thought he was asking if you were elected. I was like, don't you still keep your residence in North Carolina, right?
Yes. Actually, as a congressperson, you have to be in the district from Thursday through Monday. That's just part of the job. You have to be back in your home district from Thursday through Monday, and then you head back to DC on Monday, and then Tuesday through Thursday, and depending on the calendar. And sometimes they have to stay, through the weekend. Most of the voting that goes on with regards to legislation occurs at night. And so, yes, I'd have no intentions on moving to Washington, D.C. as such. Many Congress people live in their offices. I probably won't do that.
Yeah, get a little small little place, man. Don't.
Yeah.
Don't
It's almost like defrauding the government when they do that. Yeah.
Because you all get a housing stipend, don't you?
So I'm not sure if there's a housing stipend.
I'm just trying to get all in the finance part of this thing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, well, quite frankly, there's no money to be made with regards to congressional salaries and that sort of thing. But
oh yeah?
No, not really.
Okay, so you really are doing this for the love.
I want to serve. Yes, I really want to serve. Yeah, I really want to serve.
Get my vote.
Yeah,
you're definitely getting my vote.
Yeah.
Hey, if you got one of them like real estate sign Jones, if you give me one, I'll put it in my yard.
Hey, well, offline we'll have to talk about that. They're on the way.
Yes, sir. I did put one up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because hey man, anybody that's willing to give up, to take a pay cut to go serve the people, man, that's dope.
Yeah.
That's just huge. So question. So my children are funny individuals, but
they are.
Tell me like if we were to ask, they're hilarious. If I was to ask your youngest child, hey, tell me what you think about your dad running for House of Representative, what do you think they would say?
What?
Oh, that's the answer. Oh.
My dad? Yes, because that's what they say now. Yeah, my youngest son, he says, Dad, like when you go places, like why do people walk up to you like you're important?
Oh man, he has no idea, huh?
Oh, so yes, it's very, very. My children keep my humility in check.
Oh yeah,
that's funny.
Yes,
they would definitely do that. They would definitely do that.
Yes.
Hey, well, look, man, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yes, thank you for giving us your time tonight.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm excited about this too, man. I really, if you need some help with anything, we'll definitely talk offline.
Okay.
The donations coming. Yeah, if I can, I definitely put the real estate sign in the front yard. Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm highly impressed. I'm glad I got the phone call, man. Cause hey, so I didn't tell you this, Sharif. So when he called me on the phone, he was talking like we've been best buddies for like back since 1988.
That's how you know it's genuine.
No, so what I didn't tell you though is he plays the greatest fraternity of all time. So
I caught on to that already.
Yeah. So and he was just talking like we just know each other since back in the day. I'm like, I don't know who this is on the phone. And then he said his name. I'm like, oh, this is the call I'm supposed to be getting. I got you. Yeah. So very personable guy, man. Very, very personable. Very outgoing. So hey man, again, if I can help, I'll definitely point you in the right direction and connect you with different people. Because as a matter of fact, I spoke about you to one of the guys. He did a voters registration drive here in Durham a couple years ago, and I told him about you, and he said, "Man, good looking." I sent him your number too, so he's probably gonna call you on Monday.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Hey, can I give my my web site to you?
Man, definitely.
So for those who are viewing the show tonight. If you'd like to give a donation, you can just go to www.stephenjvalentineforcongress.com, and I promise you I will accept it. Thank you.
Cool.
Short and sweet. I like it.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
look,
go ahead.
No, ladies first.
Oh, no, you about to take us out. Go ahead.
No, ladies first. Yeah.
So I was going to conclude. I was just about to do my conclusion.
I know.
Okay. So I want to thank you again, Mr. Valentine, for gracing us with your presence. Again, Stephen Valentine, who is candidate for the 4th Congressional District in North Carolina for House of Representatives. Early voting starts on April 28th.
Yes.
And voting is, election day is May 17th.
Yes.
So again, we thank you. One thing we do, and I'm gonna take Jason's stuff, is we always ask our guests to leave us with a nugget or something for the week for our viewers to hang their hats on. And so the floor is all yours.
Yes. So I want you to hang your hat on the future of North Carolina. Our time is now, and change is in wind. And so get on board.
All right.
Okay.
Hey.
You heard it first here.
Hey, change is in the wind. Get on board.
So thank you again. Jason, another great episode.
I can't take credit for this. This was all Valentine. I'm just, hey man, I'm over here smiling like, man, there's a couple things I don't get. I don't get to meet a lot of doctors. I don't get to meet a lot of politicians. I don't get to meet a lot of police officers. So this was important to me. This was impressive. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Hey, look.
Glad to do it.
Thank you. And Sharice, thanks again for recording.
Well, if you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, and continue to follow us on this journey. If you've been rocking with us so far, keep on keeping on, because we have a lot more amazing episodes to come. We are DTR Incorporated, a nonprofit organization geared toward uplifting, inspiring, and empowering communities all over the world. I'd like to thank my 2 amazing co-hosts, the lovely Miss Sharice Lovett and Mr. Jason Redmond. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, thank you again.
Oh yeah, no problem. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and please remember, our goal is not to be better than anybody, but together we can achieve better for everybody. Thank you. Have a good night. Peace.
Bye-bye.
We're gonna try to segue all those things into that regarding
At
the
school, they knew what fraternities you were in.
Definitely wasn't an easy decision. I sat down with my dad.